You know how we do when we have funky music in our ear. We get to writing, ain't no fighting, we just in there trying to win. Ooh yeah, la-di-da, we grinding hard. Ooh yeah, we not gonna stop. Yeah, 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 yeah. Too late to turn back now. I got work to do. On a mission, by my business, I'm pushing through.
Hello sports fans, I'm Nicholas Austin Holiday and I'm your host with Between Classes Sports, and I'm here to talk about a wonderful week that we just had in football. Week 10 just passed and what a lot of great matchups we had. We had some big wins and some big losses. But first I'm going to recap the Florida teams and touch on what all of them did this past weekend. So first we have, Florida State versus Louisville. A big game, a top 25 matchup. Florida State comes in the game ranked number 2. Louisville comes in the game ranked number 25. And they had a clash. Louisville came into the game with the number 1 defense in the nation. They led the nation in interceptions. They're top 5 in rushing yards allowed per game. And passes per game, passing yards per game. So we knew it was going to be a heavyweight match. Florida State, they've been up and down this year. They've looked really good at sometimes. They look shaky at sometimes. Their offense has been very explosive, but that's expected with Jameis Winston leading the way. Their defense has been up and down. They struggle stopping the run sometimes. Some games they struggle stopping the pass. Louisville jumped out to a 21-0 lead in the first quarter. Louisville was up 21-0. That's a deficit that most teams won't be able to come back from. Going into halftime, Florida State was able to cut the lead to 21-7, but it didn't look good for Florida State. But in the second half, Florida State came out with an offensive explosion. They exploded. They went on a 35-10 run in the second half of the game to beat Louisville 42-31. They covered the spread. I believe the spread was only 3.5 points. What a great game. A lot of players stepped up, especially a lot of the young players from Florida State stepped up. The freshman Dalvin Cook had over 100 yards rushing. The freshman Travis Rudolph, the receiver, he had some big plays. The freshman Ermon Lane had a big touchdown catch. So the freshmen really came through and Florida State needed them. That's going to help them out a lot in the long run with these freshmen getting all this valuable experience. What I have to say is Louisville was also very legit. Their defense is real deal. They have Holloman out there patrolling the secondary. They have Malden rushing off the edge. And their defense is going to give a lot of teams fits this year. They have Devontae Parker, their receiver, who just went crazy on Florida State, had almost 200 receiving yards in the game. So what a great game it was all the way around. A big-time Saturday primetime matchup that a lot of people had Florida State picked to lose. But you know what? They found a way to win. And that's Florida State's MO for the season. Just keep winning. They find a way to win whether they're down, whether they're up. So that was a big win for Florida State. But what a great game it was all the way around and a great game for the ACC. Next, we have Miami played North Carolina, and they won 47-20. Duke Johnson from Miami is spectacular. He ran all over North Carolina. He ran for 177 yards, I believe. This is the same Duke Johnson that against Virginia Tech ran for pretty much 250 yards. Duke Johnson is a special player, and he's been giving teams fits since he came to UM, and he's only going to continue to get better. I'm interested to see what he's going to do in the NFL. Is he a every down back? Is he a specialist type of back? Is he a first and second down back? It'll be interesting to see. But like I said, Brad Kaya, the rookie for the freshman for UM, looked really good at quarterback. They have a lot of weapons. They have Dorsett out there on the outside. They have Stacy Coley. Their defense has tightened up and they're looking really good right now. They have Denzel Perryman, who's probably rated as the top inside linebacker in the nation right now. They have a good secondary with Deion Bush, Tracy Howard. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out. They have a bye week coming up. Then the following week they play Florida State, which is going to be a very tough matchup. And it'll be a good indication of which way their program is headed right now. In a surprising game, you have the biggest outdoor cocktail party in Jacksonville. You know what that means. You have the University of Florida versus the University of Georgia. I think everybody expected the University of Georgia to run away with the game. But you know what? Florida had other things in mind. Florida came out there and they ran the ball down Georgia's throat. They ran the ball up and down the field, side to side, through the sidelines, up into the stands. Georgia couldn't do anything to stop them. I'm not sure what Jeremy Pruitt did, the defensive coordinator at Georgia, but I don't think he game planned. Or maybe he took a nap and he missed something special because, like I say, Florida came out there and Florida was able to do what they wanted to do. You know what Florida did? You know how many times they passed the ball? They passed the ball a total of 6 times in the entire game. Yes, Florida threw the ball 6 times and they were still able to blow out Georgia. The final score was 38-20, but it wasn't even that close. Kelvin Taylor had over 190 yards rushing on Georgia's defense. But you know what Matt Jones did? Matt Jones had 190 yards rushing on Georgia's defense. 2 running backs, 190 plus yards rushing in one game. It's ridiculous. They almost rushed for 500 yards as a team against Georgia. I'm not sure what Georgia was doing. You know, Georgia has some good talent. They had some studs up in the front 7, but they couldn't do anything with Florida. Like I say, Florida ran the ball up and down the field. Muschamp came into this game on a hot seat, a very hot seat, and I still think he's on a hot seat, and he still has a very good chance of being fired. But, you know, it had to feel good for Muschamp to get that win, to get that monkey off his back, to just kind of appease the fans a little bit and the alumni just a little bit. He still has a long way to go if he wants to keep his job, but after a win like that, you know what? I have to say good job to him and good job to the team. He was hugging his players on the sidelines. The athletic director was on the sidelines, high-fiving players. It was a great scene. You know what? So good job for Florida, and maybe they can carry that over through the rest of the season. We'll see how things go for them. USF, USF actually lost to Houston 27-3. I don't think anybody's too surprised about that. USF hasn't really looked that good this year. They've looked okay at times, and they have some young talent that needs time to develop. But I don't think anybody was expecting USF to really come out here and set the world on fire this year. We'll see how USF does in the coming seasons. Like I always say every show, I think Willie Taggart is going to do a good job with USF. He just needs time to get his system in place, get the players in that he wants. But you know what? I think they're going to be on the come up. But right now, they're not looking too good, and they're getting beat up by teams in the AAC, which is not a strong conference. So I'm hoping that USF can get things together and look good from here on out. It might not be this season, but maybe in the following seasons they'll look good. UCF lost to Connecticut 37-29. UCF, like I said, they bring some good talent in. They have some good player development. O'Leary always brings in players that are able to be developed over the course of years. But we knew UCF was going to take a step back this year because of the players that they lost to the NFL and to graduation. But UCF is still, I think UCF is still a very good program, and they'll make a comeback from this. You know what? Connecticut just jumped out on top of them, and they weren't able to close the gap and win the game. But it was still a good game, very entertaining game. But in the long run, I think UCF is a better program than UConn is when it comes to football. You know, when it comes to basketball, that's a whole different type of story. But you know what? UCF will bounce back, and they'll be okay. FIU played Rice. Rice 31, FIU 17. I said it last week. I didn't expect FIU to come out and win the game. I expected Rice to win. FIU hasn't looked good this year. I'm not saying Rice is a powerhouse, but FIU has looked really bad at times. I'm still not sure why FIU let go of their coach. Mario Cristobal, he's up there in Alabama doing great things, helping them out with recruiting and coaching. FIU still continues to fall by the wayside. When they get another coach in there with a lot of energy that can bring in the players that he wants and kind of rejuvenate the fan base, we'll see how that goes. But right now, FIU is not looking good, so we'll see how things play out for them the rest of the season. FAU lost in a close game to UAB 31-28. That's only a field goal difference. Very close game. You know, it could have gone either way. FAU needs to do some of the. FAU needs to get into that mix where they can start bringing in some of that talent in South Florida. There's a bevy of talent down in South Florida. And across the entire state of Florida, there's a lot of talent. And there's too much talent to go to the big three, which is Florida State, UF, and UM. So with all that other talent, either they're going to leave the state or they're just going to go to these other schools. You have USF, UCF, FIU, FAU, and even on a lower level than that, you have the FAMUs and Bethune-Cookmans that should be getting this talent. There's no reason that some of these teams should be struggling in this way when they have access to some of this big-time talent that's in Florida. Naturally, some of the top talent is going to leave the state of Florida. They're going to go to the Alabamas, to the school in Mississippi, Mississippi State. They're going to go to the LSUs. They're going to get their talent, the USCs. But there's so much talent in Florida that these schools should still be able to beat up on their conferences or be in the mix somewhere because there's just so much talent. So hopefully these teams can get it together. They can grab some of this talent that's coming out of Florida and they can really build their teams up and take it into the future. FAMU homecoming game against Norfolk State. FAMU managed to lose the game 12-10. You know what? It's disappointing that FAMU lost this game, but an even bigger story than that is the firing of Coach Earl Holmes. FAMU let go of Coach Earl Holmes the week of homecoming. How often do you see that happening? There had to be some kind of clash going on between egos or something to why the athletic director would fire the head football coach the week of homecoming. Especially with FAMU, it's such a huge event. People come from all over the country to see the team play, for the festivities, to watch the band perform, and they fired the head coach. It didn't sit well with a lot of the players. A lot of the players were upset. They wanted to boycott, not play the game, but they ended up playing. It was a close game, 12-10, but FAMU, like I said, FAMU has to get on track and get some of this talent that's in the state to offer. Because the way things are going for FAMU right now, with only 2 wins, they're going to go into this Orlando Classic with Bethune-Cookman and get beat down. I'm hoping they can get things together. Right now, Corey Fuller is the interim head coach, but hopefully they can bring in a new coach for the future that can really take FAMU in the right direction. They're in a prime spot to where they can bring in this talent and be successful. They just have to take advantage of their demographics and where they are and bring in the guys that they need. Southeastern played Weber for the conference championship, and Weber came out with the win, 28-21. Tough luck for Southeastern, but they gave it a good fight. Weber put up 361 yards on the ground on them, and that's always tough. That's always tough to come back from that. Like I said earlier, Florida put up almost 500 yards of rushing on Georgia, so 361 yards is also tough, a tough hill to climb up. But you know what? Good job to Southeastern to even make it this far. It's very impressive, and I think their football team will only continue to get better in the future. Jacksonville University lost to Marist 17-16. 1-point game. That has to be tough on everybody. It has to be tough on the coaching staff, on the kids when you lose by something so close. And it was an upset as it was because Jacksonville University was looking like a very good team. They only had 1 loss to date, and they looked like a power team in their conference. And I was really interested to see what they were going to do. They got this loss, but you know what? They still have a chance to rebound, and we'll see how they look for the rest of the season. Right now, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll get into the top 25 in college football.
You know how we do it, we have funky music in our ear. We get to writing, ain't no fighting, we just in there trying to win. Ooh yeah, la-di-da, we grinding hard. Ooh yeah, we not gonna stop. Yeah. Too late to turn back now. I got work to do. On a mission, by my business, I'm pushing through, no slacking. Make it happen, we grinding hard, we grinding hard. You know how we do it, we have funky music in our ear. We get to writing, ain't no fighting, we just in there trying to win. Ooh yeah, la-di-da, we grinding hard. Ooh yeah, we not gonna stop. Yeah. Too late to turn back now. I got work to do. On a mission, by my business, I'm pushing through, no slacking. make it happen. We grinding hard. We grinding hard. You know how we do when we have funky music in our ear. We get to writing, ain't no fighting, we just in there trying to win. Ooh yeah, la-di-da, we grinding hard. Ooh yeah, we not gonna stop. Yeah, 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 yeah. Too late to turn back now. I got work to do. On a mission, by my business, I'm pushing through, I'm pushing.